Hi, Karin. So nice to talk to you. I'm so glad you were available to do this session with me.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me. It's an honor.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. Yeah, as I told you, what I'm doing on the podcast right now is release kind of more regular, raw episodes that can support people and that hopefully help them to deal with this current situation. Since there's a lot of us who experience anxiety, and so when I was thinking about self-care and who could I bring on to the show. And specifically for tapping, well, I thought of you. So
Thank
here we
you.
are.
Yeah.
Why don't you start out, Karin, and tell us a bit about your personal story, how you found your way to tapping, or maybe how it found you.
Well, yeah, it was actually, it found me, but in a very weird and wonderful way. I am originally from Sweden, and we moved here to Switzerland in 2005. Newlyweds, all excited to start a new life, and we got pregnant with our first child. And she was born in September 2006 with a genetic disease called spinal muscle atrophy type 1, which is a terminal illness. So we were, completely alone in a new country, didn't speak the language, and now dealing with a palliative care situation with a baby, which was obviously completely shocking and terrifying and, yeah, everything in one lovely bundle. I obviously, we coped through it in some magical way. We had 2 more kids the following years. And when my youngest son was 2, I just could not stand being in corporate anymore. I was like, I have to do something with all of this. There's so little help, especially for grieving people that might not need therapy in that sense, or psychology or something like that, but really just someone to talk to, someone more like a mentor, someone that can hold their hand. So I went upon searching for something that I could do to be a compassionate helper in grief. And I did a training with the Grief Recovery Institute up in Stockholm. This is a worldwide organization. They're from California in the States originally. So I'm a certified grief recovery specialist. So I started off doing that, and obviously in English, Swedish, and a bit of German. And I was working quite a lot with people and noticing when we went through the whole life experience with all the losses and disappointments, and it didn't work the way I wanted it to be. I also felt like, what if we hit something big, something that we have buried way down deep in our subconscious, something traumatic, big or small. I need a tool, almost like a first aid kind of tool, that I can help people and not just say, sorry, that's not my thing. You have to call your psychologist tomorrow, and just leave them in a complete panic. And that's when actually tapping had been knocking on my door several times, but it came in such weird packages. So I was just like, no, that looks weird. That's so strange. That can't work. I mean, it just looks ridiculous. Who is this lady who's standing there in her little app? So I just left it and left it and left it. And then in 2014, there was a surge in messages because of this horrible school shooting in Newtown, where they went into the elementary school. And in that town lives a guy called Nick Ortner, who, together with his siblings, runs the tappingsolution.com. And all of a sudden, I got this surge of emails from all the lists I was on, like, go to Nick Ortner's website and check this out, because they rushed to the scene and helped with the trauma by using tapping.
Right.
So all of a sudden I was like, maybe now is the time to learn this, because they came in the, they're a bit younger than me actually, but they came in the right packaging, the right messaging. They talked in a way I understood. It made all sense to me. So again, I went up to Sweden to do the training in Swedish because I have to work in so many languages. So I did practitioner level 1 and 2.
Wow.
And I just added that on top of what I was already doing. And I was just seeing that as we were already talking about grief or sadness or life crisis, when I added tapping while talking about that, we could just clear so many more layers and have it last on a deeper level. And I'm very pragmatic, and I'm all for solutions that work. And I just felt like, wow, if I can help my clients clear faster and deeper, fantastic. So that's when I started adding tapping, and that's now 7 years ago. So, and I'm still today blown away with, the stuff that happens when you use tapping.
That's amazing. Yeah. So maybe we just kind of went right into, your story, and that's great. But what I realized, maybe some people who are listening have no idea what tapping is. And sometimes it's also called EFT. So
Yeah.
what are these letters standing for?
Okay.
Why don't you explain a bit?
Yes, absolutely. So EFT tapping is a modality of the tapping techniques that are out there today. So it actually started with in the late 70s. There was a Dr. Callahan who sort of he was the pioneer, and he did something called thought field therapy, and that's still around, TFT. And that's basically using algorithms for different problems. So say that you have a knee problem, you will tap your eyebrow side or your collarbone point or top of head point. And then for something else, it will be another sequence. And for something else, there will be another sequence. And then in the 90s, there was this guy, an engineer called Gary Craig. And he was obviously an engineer. So he was like, why do we have to have all of these different combinations? Because the knee problem could actually, be the reason of something else. So why don't we just tap all the points for everything and just cover it all in one sequence? And that, because of, he wanted to respect Dr. Callahan's technique, TFT, so he made his own called EFT, that's Emotional Freedom Techniques. So that was the new kid on the block. So he started his own version by tapping all the points for any problem, any pain, anything you could imagine. And he's still around doing his EFT. Since then, there has been many others developing their own version of them. So right now you can find trauma tapping technique, you can find mindful tapping, you can find so many different names, but tapping in itself is actually an acupressure technique. So it comes from the Chinese medicine. So we use the same meridian points as the Chinese medicine does. It's just that we use the ones that are easy to reach in our face and our collarbone and our head, top of head, because they're just easy to reach and they're very poignant. It's like the central stations. And then you can look at the acupuncture as more the tiny stations that the train stops at every single point, and they go in more in detail with the needles. But the acupressure is a bit more rudimentary, but it works. So it's basically the EFT technique, or the tapping technique, is basically acupressure married with coaching / therapy, that we do the talking as well.
I think that's important, right, to mention, because there is, on one hand, the tapping, and that's always the same. And we'll do a little session. You volunteered to, or I volunteered maybe to do a session. So you'll guide me through a tapping session. But I think it's important to realize that it's both. Yeah, it's the tapping on the different points, but then it's also these things that we tell ourselves, or if we're working with a coach, that the coach is telling us. So so okay, so you talked about the meridians and in these pressure points. How does that then it's, I guess, supposed to release something in the unconscious? That's how I kind of picture it. So tell us a bit more about that. What are these points? Because we're tapping, how many points is it that we're usually tapping? 5?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I use 7. There are actually,
I think there's 9. The under the arm.
Yeah, exactly, under the arm, but I don't use that when I work. I've just left it out because it's so 7 or 8 points
that we're tapping, right? So
exactly.
Why these points, and how does tapping those points influence our subconscious?
There's a lot of research going on right now. We don't know exactly why this seems to be happening. But what is happening is that when we tap those points, we're basically talking to the fight-flight part of the brain, the amygdala, the stress response. And it's telling the brain, when we tap, that you are right now just invoking a memory, or you're fearful of the future, but you're not right now in any physical danger. So they've done research by taking, for example, blood tests and seeing a remarkable reduction in the stress hormone cortisol. So when you tap and talk it out, what you're experiencing, you're also reducing the stress hormone cortisol in your blood, which is remarkable.
Wow.
And you're also talking to the limbic system. That's the ancient brain, the dinosaur brain, whatever you call it, the reptile brain. It goes under many names, the monkey brain. And you're telling that one as well to not shut up, but to calm down. Because our brains are wired this way. When we go into a stress response, i.e. we're experiencing something that is dangerous, the brain will actually take the prefrontal cortex that is in the front of our brain offline. Because in our frontal cortex, that's where we have our reasoning, our problem solving, our language, our personality, all of that stuff that actually makes us us, which is really good to have that information. But in a fight-flight state, it's not so clever, because we can't reason our way out of danger. It's going to be too complicated. Like, do I run left or right? Do I bring my bag or not? Do I empty the dishwasher before I run? It's too much. So the brain has just said, okay, when the stress response is pushing the button, just put the frontal cortex offline and just react from the limbic system and get the heck out of there.
That makes so much sense.
Exactly. So when we tap, say that, when the part of the, when the prefrontal cortex goes offline, it's basically like putting a firewall down. And it's not just in sort of objective dangerous situation, i.e., a tiger or a guy with a knife or whatever. It's also the deadlines, the bills, the anxiety, the fear. All of that stuff is also shutting our prefrontal cortex off, because the brain can't step outside and say, oh, that's just thoughts. It will react to it, because it can be a life and death decision.
So in a way, it's like an active meditation, because we're also helping the brain shut down with tapping those points, right? Where
Yeah,
in
well,
meditation
yeah.
we just try to focus or breathe or focus on our breathing, and some people struggle with meditation, and so maybe for those it might be helpful to try tapping.
Yeah, I mean, I'm way too fidgety to sit down in meditation. But when I add tapping, it sort of calms my body down, it calms my thoughts down. And I'm also helping, I'm also talking and centering my body.
Right.
So it's a very, I mean, and also because I'm then tapping those points, I'm reactivating my prefrontal cortex, which is where I can start problem solving.
Right.
Like before it was just fear,
Yeah.
and now I'm tapping, and all of a sudden, yeah, it's scary, but I could do this, or I could do that, and that could be potential solution, and so on. So you can actually sort of calm yourself down, put this firewall up again, and start finding solutions, and not be stuck in this fight, flight, freeze, scary place.
What really helped me, I used tapping when I was experiencing insomnia for quite a few months. And so I looked into different solutions and started tapping. And it really helped me, to let go of, you're mentioning solutions right now. So that is probably what's working when you do it during the day. But at night, you don't want your brain to go and find all these solutions, right? So it helped me actually, first of all, yes, thank my mind for trying to save me and trying to find solutions. And at the same time telling it, just not right now. Right now, I just want to sleep. So, I think the three things I kept repeating was letting go, feeling safe right now.
Excellent.
So that was just one part of the tapping, but that really helped me, and I still remember it. And sometimes I still say it before I go to sleep. Just say, right now is not the time to find solutions.
Exactly. Exactly. And also when you're in that thought storm, like I call it, and you can't go to sleep, again, your body is sending out cortisol and adrenaline.
Right.
And that's the active system.
Mm-hmm.
You can't relax and go into sleep mode,
right,
when that is active at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And so the tapping helps you.
So tapping helps you. Again, it reduces the cortisol. It helps the body relax and helps to go from this reactive, active, on state to rest and repair state.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're ready. Let's do this. Let's do this session. So I'm recording the video, but as you know, there's also people listening on the podcast. So let's just make sure that we always tell them where we're tapping so that.
Okay. So first of all, I'm going to do a round of tapping so we can all learn the points. And then we can add all the words. Okay?
Yeah.
So the first point, you use 2 fingers, left or right, does not matter. We have those meridian points on both sides of our body. I'm right-handed, that's why I use my right hand a lot, but you can do left or right, it doesn't matter. And you can swap while tapping yourself as well, in case you need to just have a break and do the other side. And again, we use 2 fingers, so I use my index finger and my middle finger. And you start by tapping you were drumming a table. And now let's see. Did I lose you, Sarah? Are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Just got a little issue with the internet.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so you tap on the eyebrow, right between the nose and the eyebrow. So right where the eyebrow starts. And you tap maybe, 10 times. We're going to add language to it later, and then it's sort of one sentence, one point. And then you go to the side of the eye, and it's right where you can feel the bony part on the side of your eye. And then you go under your eye, right under your eye, as if you were looking straight ahead, and just under your eye, also where the bone is. And the next one is right under your nose. The next point is under your mouth, in this crease that you have under your lips. And the next point is under your collarbone. And then I take all 4 fingers actually, and I just tap around, just following one of the collarbones, just right underneath. There's no exact point, so you can't go wrong here. And as you said, there is an under the arm point. I don't use it when I work actively, but I'll talk you through it. You can just put one hand on your shoulder and the other hand you lead on the other side of your, where the bra strap would go for women. And you just tap on the side of your torso. And then the next one is right on top of your head, right on the crown, with your whole hand flat. So no fingers, because that's just annoying. Okay, and then you put your hand down and you take a deep breath. And just feel how that feels when you've just tapped through the points once. And just tune in to your body and just feel if you feel any pressure, if there are thoughts coming up, if there's fear coming up, anxiety creeping up, if you can feel maybe a pain in the body. Because what we're going to do now is to give the body and the mind a chance to first unload what it's really scared of right now. And I know that the positive thinking movement goes absolutely crazy when we start here, but we need to talk and tap through the negative first and not sweep that under the carpet, and basically do that so we can voice and validate what we're actually feeling, that we can see it, hear it, validate it, and then we're going to move through and let it go, and we're going to end on a positive note, just so no one freaks out, so you know that. Because it's so,
that's one of the reasons why tapping has always got my attention compared to, you know, affirmations or kind of that positive thinking movement, because I always thought if I just repeat those positive affirmations, my brain was like revolting. It's like, but that's not how I feel. Why am I telling myself
exactly
that? And so I like the idea of acknowledging first, I feel scared right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then moving into something more positive.
Exactly, because otherwise we're basically battling a David Goliath scenario. So you with your conscious mind is saying, I'm safe, I'm relaxed, I'm loving, I'm light, da da da. And the subconscious 95% Goliath is like, no, you're not.
Yeah, run.
So we need to address that first, and then with grace move forward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Sarah, you promised to be my guinea pig. So let's just see where you are right now. What's going on? What's bothersome? What's a bit scary? I mean, we are in a period of time that is absolutely unprecedented.
Yeah, so I think what would be most helpful for everyone listening, including myself, as I told you offline before we hit record, I feel better now. I'm in a good place right now. And I was in a frozen state last week where everything just kind of started crumbling down, and I was in that kind of scared place, always checking the news, and, you know, like where we're all probably somehow in it right now. So that's what I'd like to tap on, is this idea of especially for entrepreneurs, because that's who's listening or watching. As an entrepreneur, our livelihood is in risk right now, and that's besides the health and sanitary, fears. I think for most of us, it's also our livelihood that we're scared about, and so I think that's what would be really helpful to tap on.
Okay, so if we take this sentence, what's going to happen to my livelihood? And if you just close your eyes and breathe that in, and you can do this, all of you who are listening and watching, just breathe and see where that fear is located in the body. If you can find it, if you can feel it, if you can maybe see, does it have a color? Does it have a shape? What intensity? If you take a scale of 0 to 10, is it like 10 freaking out scary, or is it like a 5, it's going to work, but I'm a bit anxious right now? Where is it? And if you have a paper and pen, you can just open your eyes and jot that number down, just so you have something as a starting point. So for you, Sarah, where do you feel it? So we can use you as the guinea pig.
Yeah, for me, I think it's somewhere in my heart and my chest. So not so much, usually if it's a big fear, I feel it in my belly. But right now it's not that big. I would say between 5 and 6, and it's somewhere in my chest.
Okay, good. So we're going to start tapping on the eyebrow, and I'm going to say out loud when we swap the points. And you just repeat after me, Sarah, like a parrot. All this fear I'm feeling right now.
All this fear I'm feeling right now.
Side of eye. What's going to happen to my business?
What's going to happen to my business?
Under your eye. What's going to happen to my livelihood?
What's going to happen to my livelihood?
Under your nose. I don't feel safe at all.
I don't feel safe at all.
Under your mouth. I feel so much fear in my chest right now.
I feel so much fear in my chest right now.
On your collarbone, I feel so much fear and sadness in my heart right now.
I feel so much fear and sadness in my heart right now.
Top of head, what's going to happen to my livelihood?
What's going to happen to my livelihood?
What's going to happen to all my friends?
What's going to happen to all my friends?
Eyebrow, I feel so much fear in my chest right now.
I feel so much fear in my chest right now.
Side of eye, there's so much anxiety and fear in the news.
There's so much anxiety and fear in the news.
Under your eye, there's so much fear and anxiety in my immediate community.
There's so much fear and anxiety in my immediate community.
Under your nose, how will this end?
How will this end?
Under your mouth, there's just so much uncertainty right now.
There's just so much uncertainty right now.
Collarbone, and I feel so afraid and sad.
And I feel so afraid and sad.
Top of head, how is this going to end?
How is this going to end?
Now put your hand down and just take a deep breath and just breathe that out. And just go to your chest and your heart and just check in and see if anything has changed. It doesn't have to have changed. It could have gone up, it could have gone down. It's all perfect the way it is for you. So, Sarah, are there any thoughts coming up? What's happening in the chest?
I think it's about the same. I don't feel much change. Maybe my heart is beating a bit faster.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're going to do it a bit differently. This is not what you're going to see in an EFT video, but this is also how you can do it. And you can call a friend while doing it and tap through the points.
Okay.
So start on the eyebrow point. And Sarah, with your own words, what's going on? What are these fears and concerns for you? Because I think they're fairly resonated with your audience and including myself. And just breathe.
I'm worried about, I'm worried about entrepreneurs right now.
Mm-hmm. Side of eye.
Because a lot of us depend on, being able to work, continue our work with clients.
Mm-hmm. Under your eye.
And so if everybody needs to start cutting costs, then what does that mean for us who depend on that work?
Yeah, under your nose. And what does that do in your body right now when you say it out loud?
It tightens again in my chest.
Yeah, under your mouth. And what does, if you just tune into that tightness in your chest, and just say this out loud with me now, and go to the collarbone point. Dear tightness in the chest.
Dear tightness in the chest.
Top of head. I know that you are trying to keep me safe.
I know that you're trying to keep me safe.
Eyebrow. I would really like to listen what you have to say now.
I would really like to listen to what you have to say now.
Side of eye, so you don't have to be so tight in my chest.
So you don't have to be so tight in my chest.
Under your eye, I know that you're just trying to get my attention.
I know that you're just trying to get to my attention.
Under your nose. So what would you like to say to me right now?
What would you like to say to me right now?
Under your mouth, I'm here to listen.
I'm here to listen.
Collarbone. Just breathe in and check your chest. And just see if there is a message there.
The message that came up was, it's going to be okay.
Okay. Top of head. What else?
We're in this together.
Mm-hmm. Eyebrow. And what else?
This is not the first time.
Mm-hmm.
We're resilient.
Side of eye. Under eye.
There's a positive outcome that could potentially happen.
Mm-hmm.
We're being more mindful right now.
Mm-hmm. Under nose. And what else is coming?
This belongs.
Mm-hmm. Under your mouth.
It helps us connect with each other more than we have ever before.
Yeah. Collarbone.
We want to be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Top of head.
We're going to be fine.
Yeah. So, eyebrow, And repeat after me. We are going through this together.
We are going through this together.
Side of eye. There is a healing taking place right now.
There is a healing taking place right now.
Under your eye. There will be new solutions and new opportunities.
There will be new solutions and new opportunities.
Under your nose, there will be a new connection.
There will be a new connection.
Under your mouth, a stronger connection.
A stronger connection.
Collarbone, a more loving, caring connection.
A more loving and caring connection.
Top of head, there is a healing taking place on the planet right now.
There is a healing taking place on the planet right now.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
And we will be safe.
And we will be safe.
Okay, now take a deep breath and put your hand down. And just thank your chest for that message. And just see where you are right now.
I feel like my chest expanded. It opened up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like a singing in the chest right now.
Yeah.
More restraint.
Good.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I think we're going to stop there. I feel that is what we wanted to.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. I think I hope that people can just kind of follow along and hopefully get the same kind of benefits. It's very beautiful. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you for being my guinea pig.
Yes.
But I also want to say to everyone that is listening and they are still stuck in fear and they're still not feeling what you just felt, it's okay. Because we are all in this together and every single person knows what's going on. But there's also so much beauty, so much care. People are reaching out, people are helping each other like I've never seen before.
Right.
So even if you're fearful, call a friend, sit together with one other person because we're not allowed to be more right now, or just do what we do, connect on the internet, connect over a Skype call, and like you would talk to a friend, like we just dialogued, call a friend and just like, I'm really fearful, and tap. And I don't know how my business is going to survive, and tap. And da 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 da, and da 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 da, and just use the points while talking.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and even you can even say, I don't believe in this tapping. It sounds and feels silly, but do it anyway, like you would wear a life jacket, even whether you believe it's going to hold you or not. Right. You're still going to put it on, right?
Right.
If you're on a boat. So, just know that the tapping is helping your nervous system release all the stress, the cortisol, the adrenaline, and just tap until you feel that shift, like, I'll go and have a coffee now instead, or I'll go to sleep now, or I'll worry about that tomorrow, because then you know that you have reached a better space already.
Right. Yes, it's so good. I really like this idea of doing it anyway, even if you don't believe in it, which with meditation is kind of difficult, right? Because then you're literally just sitting there and actually thinking, what a bunch of, I'm not believing this. But here you're doing something. Yeah. And that actually is proven to calm down your nerves. So.
Yeah, exactly. Because the cortisol and the amygdala is not going to care about your belief system.
Exactly.
Right there and then. It just acts on the physical stimulation.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. Maybe just one more thing regarding, your fear right now. So if you're really experiencing enormous fear, then obviously, reach out to someone
Yes.
who can help you, not just a friend, maybe a professional.
Yes, absolutely.
This tapping that what we're just doing here,
Mm-hmm.
clearly, if you're in an extreme state of fear, you need more support. So.
Absolutely. And just know as well, like if you choose to work with a professional, tapping professional, for example, just, it's going to take maybe 1 or 2 sessions. It's not going to be, personally, I don't sell packages because I don't know, because everyone is individual and you have no idea of knowing how much you would need. But just to get yourself out of that deer in the headlights fear.
Yeah.
And just have 1 session or maybe 2, and just to calm yourself down and then start looking for solutions.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like months on end.
Right. And you were mentioning to me before we hit record that you have a resource,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd like you to share, because clearly, people are probably wondering right now, okay, I can figure out the points and tap, but what do I tell myself?
Exactly.
And so I think that's what your resource kind of
Mm-hmm.
with.
Yeah, I'm going to do a link for your audience so you get the URL.
Mm-hmm.
And on there, I'm going to put a PDF that sort of leads you through, because people always get stuck on like, yeah, but Karin, you seem to know what to say and you seem to know exactly how to address everything. But yeah, I've done this for like 7, 8 years now. But you always know better than me or anyone else how you're feeling right now or what your fears are. So it's basically a PDF leading you through, like, how do I know what to say? How do I know, what to say on these points? Like, how do I find my issues? How do I sort of filter them through? So it's just a sort of a flow chart of getting that information out for you who need that kind of method. You could also just completely, jam on this and just sit and tap and just talk it through with yourself or a friend and just do it intuitively. But for you that need a bit of structure, you can just print that PDF out and just go through the motions.
Yeah, that's great. So for those who are listening, the link, right, it's your website. So HagelinGriefRecovery.com, and we decided to host it at /Sarah. So and Hagelin, is that HAGELIN? Okay. So HAGELIN, Grief Recovery, all in one word, .com/Sarah. That's where the PDF will be posted for you to download that resource. Yeah, so please share with everyone. Well, so the regular website link is HagelinGriefRecovery.com. Where else are you usually hanging out? Where can people connect with you?
I am very present on my Facebook page, which is Karin Hagelin, Life Crisis Coach. And I'm also on LinkedIn, of course, and on Instagram.
Wonderful.
As Karin_Life Crisis Coach. Because, where I post like book tips and stuff. So those are the 3 channels that I hang out on. Wonderful. But they are also clickable, obviously, via my website. So don't worry.
Thank you so much for doing this, Karin. This was wonderful. I hope it really will inspire some people to look more into tapping and get your resource and maybe just replay this video or this podcast and tap along with us.
Yeah, absolutely. May I also say that I always offer a free discovery session, a 1-hour discovery session, so that you can try it out with me before you decide to do anything. Wonderful. So just know that it's a free offer.
Yeah, and I think that's so much needed right now, right? And you do work with people from all over the world?
Oh yes, from Sydney, Australia to the Caribbean, to Africa, to the Scandinavian countries, to all over Europe, yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, the internet is great in times like these.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for coming on to the show. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Karin.
Thank you, Sarah, for this opportunity, and stay safe, all of you.
Thank you.